It looks like Rostermania is picking back up once again, so we're going to talk about the rumors that came out recently, and then we're going to update our spreadsheet with more predicted rosters. So kicking it off with the big thing here, Nasty and Kremp have both removed LA Thieves from their Twitter bio. As you can see here, Nasty, professional Call of Duty player 4, and it doesn't say Thieves anymore. Same thing here with Kremp, Thieves, and Ghosty, though, both still have it in their bio. And then CDL Scrim Intel did retweet this tweet with the little thinking emoji and the wink emoji. Obviously, kind of showing that maybe he sort of, saw this coming. He has his sources. He did tweet out a couple days ago, this is about a week ago actually, that Envoy was in talks with LAT and C9, and with the rumors of SIB being released from the subliners and Envoy apparently being a restricted free agent, well, all of Ultra being a restricted free agent, everyone was saying SIB and Envoy in, Nasty and Kremp out for LAT. And that could potentially be what's happening. Ghosty also tweeted out this anime, laughing gif here. So definitely interesting. People think this is because he has the keys to LA. And then a couple other things that happened. D-Real is leaving Cloud9. So D-Real, obviously one of the coaches of C9 with Sender, is leaving. Someone said on the flank last night, I believe it was Zuma, that he was going to Falcons. But then one of the Falcons organization managers said that that's not true. So D-Real, I'm sure he'll find a spot somewhere, but the little coaching update. And then also, it looks like the Boston Breach will be sticking around the CDL, at least for now. As you can see here from this, they made a whole video kind of talking about the situation. They're not leaving the CDL just yet. But now with that out of the way, let's talk about some more predicted rosters. This on screen is what I had from my last video, but we're going to get rid of all the stuff that's obviously not happening. Okay, so given what we know and what's rumored right now, here's about what we're looking at. Now, I'm going to take Kremp and Nasty out of the Thieves. Unfortunately, as a Thieves fan myself, this definitely sucks, right? I mean, I love these guys. They performed really well for the team this year. They definitely had their ups and their downs. By the end of the season, they really did their thing. So if they are gone, I just want to give a shout out to those guys. They came in, they did what needed to be done, and obviously improved every event. But now with all the rumors and stuff, I do think, and I think it makes sense to potentially see SIB and Envoy over here on this Thieves team. Envoy obviously already played with Thieves. SIB coming in as our slaying flex type of player, where Dan Ghosty is probably going to play more of the objective base man AR type role. And then I think Thieves will be sticking around. I mean, he hasn't removed them from the bio yet. So the other two have, and Ghosty and Joe have not. I would imagine at least this roster looks like it could be pretty realistic. And also, as a Thieves fan, I do like this roster a lot, obviously. It sucks to see the other two go, because I do like them a ton. But Envoy coming back, I absolutely love. And SIB coming in definitely makes this Thieves roster a contender for top 4, especially if Toronto Ultra are going to be blowing it up. With SIB leaving C9, I really do think Scrap is going to come in. I feel like, especially with the rumor that C9 is going to do everything they can to get Scrap, I just don't see them letting SIB walk unless Scrap is coming into the team. Now, what C9 does with the rest of the roster, with Kismet, with Skies, I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think both of them were a bit underwhelming this season. But I do think with Scrap and with Hydra on your team, you really just need 2 good role players, and those 2 will get all the kills. So I can almost see a world where Skies and Kismet stay on this team, especially because they haven't tweeted anything about being free agents. Only SIB has. So I can almost see them maybe doing a bit of a plug and play here, keeping your core 3 and bringing in Scrap as an upgrade over SIB. Kind of what we've seen from, Atlanta FaZe in recent years, where you kind of just upgrade, you keep your trio, and you try to upgrade your force until maybe you find success. So I'm actually going to, in this video, keep Kismet and Skies both on Cloud9. Now I'm going to move my camera over, since you already know what those 2 rosters are there at the top. Now this leaves Toronto Ultra in a very interesting spot, right? Obviously, I could see Insight and CleanX wanting to stick together, but if you're going to let go of Scrap, you're going to let go of Envoy, I feel like they're going to part ways with probably the majority of this roster, if not all of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split these 2 for the sake of fun. We want to have fun in these videos. And I'm going CleanX to the Seattle Surge. In my last video, I had Envoy here. I think CleanX here could make a lot of sense. Now, CleanX could also go to like C9, let's say, for Kismet. But if they're buying out Scrap, I don't think they're spending any more money to buy at anyone else. So I'm sending him over to team up with 04. I think that'd be a really fast-paced, deadly SMG duo. And then for Insight, I'm honestly just going to do what I've been doing in the last couple of videos. I'm going to put him over here on Minnesota Rocker. I think he'd fit well with these 2. Cobra could be a bit more of the flex slayer, and Insight could be more of your main AR sitting in the hill. Got a little bit of an EU thing going on over here in Minnesota. We also know the Rocker are not afraid to spend money. Now, I don't know if they're big ballers out here, right? But they obviously are a team that's, not afraid to spend a little bit of money to invest in the roster. But now we're at the point where we got a lot of empty slots and a load of free agents. I mean, this is absolutely jam-packed down here. So let's build out some fun teams. Now, we do know that, or at least it looks like, in some shape or form, Bance is going to be with the Toronto Ultra. I really don't think he's going to be as a player. I just don't know that he was good enough in challengers. I've watched a ton of challengers. I really don't watch a ton, but I do know typically who the top players are. I don't think Bance really played well enough to be a player on this team, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was coming in as some sort of coach or member of the organization. And I kind of see Ultra going with maybe a bit more of a budget EU type of squad like they've done in the past. So I'm going to move Bance out of the way for now because, like I said, I don't think he's going to be a player. But here's what I think I'm thinking for the Toronto Ultra. If Nasty is a free agent, I can see Nasty coming into this team, right? Obviously, from the UK, I think had a pretty solid season with LAT, continuing to get better every event. Then as the AR duo to pair alongside Nasty, I'm going with Beans. I think Beans is a player that, you know, he's been bounced around a ton. I feel like he's got to start in the league at this or for Black Ops 6, right? I definitely think the guy's good enough. He definitely has the talent. He brings the energy. I think with him and Nasty, I don't know who would play the slower role, honestly, on this role. Maybe Nasty, because he played slower than Ghosty at times this year. But honestly, I don't think you necessarily need a super slow AR and like a flex or a faster paced AR, but I could see these two being on the roster. From here, there's a lot of options to go with the SMG. I said I wanted to go kind of with like an EU type of thing, but honestly, I don't know who would really come in here. I know Harry's on this list, but he's an AR player. Maybe Nasty could go back to a sub, which we have seen him play in the past, but I might actually go a little bit away from the EU thing and try something a little different. There honestly could potentially be a world where maybe Nasty and Kremp want to team up and play together even more. Obviously, they played together this season or a lot of this season and got better every single event. So I could see a world where these two want to stay together if they have the opportunity to play together here in Toronto. And then last but not least, and I don't know if this is honestly, I don't know if any of this is realistic. I don't know how likely a team that or players that get dropped would want to stick together, but we're going to do it again for this roster and we're going to go Tej in here to play. Obviously, he just played with Beans on the Royal Ravens. This could be an interesting roster, man. I think this could be a low-key team that if they hit their peak, could be a top 6 team for sure, but this would probably be a team that's in that top 8 realm if they're playing pretty consistent. I'm looking at some of the rosters we have here, and like I said, I don't know who is like who actually is friends with each other that will go on the teams. I say that in every video. But I can see a player working for the Seattle Surge roster being Geo. Abuza is definitely not the fastest pace AR. It will play the objective. And between Kleenex and 04, there's enough objective play between the two of them, I think. Geo could just straight up be a Slayer, which is what I think he's best at, playing that second AR, that fast flex role. I could see Geo just absolutely slaying on this team. And this being a roster that really could break into the top 4 at times throughout the season in Black Ops 6. Let's move on to the Royal Ravens because I think I'm cooking up something. This might be similar to what I had in my last video. First off, I'm bringing Nero onto this team. I think Nero and Gwyn would be a really fun SMG duo. Nero setting the pace and just absolutely banging out while Gwyn is sort of slaying around him and getting those cleanup kills. I think this would be a really deadly duo. And then to come alongside Nero's teammate from this last year, I got Attach. I think Attach is one of the best free agent ARs on the market, and I could really see him coming in and sticking with Nero because I honestly thought they were Legion's 2 best players last year. And then lastly, for this Ravens team, I actually think I have something pretty interesting. Attach has teamed with this person in the past, and if you look at this Ravens roster, right, you got Attach, who's a pretty good Slayer. You got Nero, who's a pretty good Slayer. You got Gwyn, who's a pretty good Slayer. You don't really need another Slayer on this team. You need a dirty work player. And you also need someone that can flex between an SMG and an AR. I'm going Priesta, man. I think Priesta, obviously, very, very underwhelming year with Boston. But we got to remember, this guy won a world championship just a couple years ago. He is your dirty work player. He's the guy who's totally fine with dropping a 0.9 if that means he's making the right plays and he's impacting winning. And I can kind of see it happening, bro. Being that second AR next to Attach. We obviously know Priesta can play an SMG role. So depending on the meta, you have flexibility there for BO6. I actually really like this, and I can see this, again, being another roster. With all these rosters, I'm kind of trying to build something that I feel like is your top 6 realm, but maybe top 4 if they peak well. And this is another one that, honestly, as long as they can have consistency among especially their subs, this is another team I think could contend for being top 4. Now I want to finish off this Minnesota Rocker roster because there is only one slot left. We need an SMG to pair alongside Linz. I think Linz is more of your Slayer, so you definitely probably need someone that's going to play fast and set the pace for Linz to get those cleanup kills. And I think there's a couple different options here. We could go with maybe someone like Estriel, who just played with Linz for G2 at the World Cup. You got someone like Johnny. You got Purge, Fame, Vivid, who obviously played with him this past year. I could potentially see Vivid maybe coming back to Rocker to team up with Linz once again. But I'm actually going to go with Johnny. I think Johnny was pretty impressive when he came in to the Legion team. I think he plays fast. I think he's pretty solid at every single mode. Actually, his control might have been a little bit lackluster. But his hard point and his search was pretty good. He's a playmaker type of player, and I think him and Lins together could actually work pretty well. But now we're down to our last 2 rosters, and if you haven't already, make sure to sub to the channel if you like CDL content like this. Bunch more videos coming out soon, and I appreciate the support. But let's go with the Boston breach first, because we obviously know LAG are going to be the last team to pick up teams. Also, Ravens, LAG, they could potentially be out of the league, right? We don't really know, but there's no rumors or confirmations about that, so we're going to stick with what we have going right now. First things first, I'm going to put Estriel up here with Snoopy. I think Estriel and Snoopy as a sophomore duo coming in could be pretty good. Estriel doing dirty work, Snoopy maybe being a bit more free, allowed to kind of slay out. It does seem like Boston are going to continue to put their faith into Snoopy, so we're keeping him on the roster. Now they need 2 ARs. I definitely think they need some consistency, some slaying consistency on this team. But I also think Boston's not a team that's afraid to, you know, invest in young talent. And especially if we're almost out of the league for a second there, I don't think they're trying to spend big contracts. So I could see them going the either, you know, vet route or potentially rookie route. First up, a player who I think is honestly deserving another chance in the league. I really liked what I saw of him at the Esports World Cup. I'm going Paul X to maybe be more of the main AR player on this team. Like I said, I actually thought he looked pretty good. I know he was pretty good in challenges this year. And like I said, Boston, not trying to spend a ton of money. I could potentially see him getting on this roster. There's honestly so many options here I could fill in on this last spot on Boston. There's a ton of players down here who should probably be on a team. And I'm going to go with Diamond Con here. I think DC had a pretty solid year. I think we know he has slaying capabilities. And I could see this being a sort of mishmash roster of, you know, I mean, Diamond Con and Estriel obviously played together this year, so as long as they still like each other, maybe they, you know, put in a good word and they get on the roster together. But now it's time to match something as our final 4 here for LAG. There's a ton of players down here who are deserving of being on a team. We need more teams in the league. Honestly, that's all it comes down to. But what roster can I build here for LAG? And feel free to let me know in the comments, what do you think is like a realistic LAG roster? Because genuinely, it could be anything at this point. Like, who knows what they're going to put together? Like I said, I think I'm going to go for some sort of mix and match roster here. First things first, I'm going to start off with Slasher. I still am a believer in Slasher. I still think he has enough in the tank to still be a good player. I thought he was potentially Boston's best player at the start of the season. And then an AR to pair alongside him. I'm going Big Wake. I think Big Wake coming back in, Cold War title. Maybe we see, you know, Nameless is a big promoter of Wake. He calls him Giga Wake. I do think Wake had a very odd down year this year in the league. And I could see him maybe getting back in. I think with Slasher sort of being the back line, directing the troops, Wake can focus on what he does best, which is slaying. And this is an interesting AR duo for LAG. But now we're down to our subs. There's a bunch of different options. Like I said, it's so hard to decide who's deserving of the spot over someone else. First up, I'm going to go Vivid. I mean, I think Vivid's played with both of these guys in the past and played on LAG. I don't know what the relationships look like here. Maybe this is unrealistic, but I'm going to put Vivid on this team because I do think he's very deserving. And then lastly, we need a player that could probably match the pace of Vivid, but also get some kills here and there. You could look at someone maybe like Standy or Fame or Hook. Yeah, it's kind of tough. I'm just going to go Hook, honestly. I feel like Hook's the kind of player that just based off of his name and his history gets in the league, even though I thought he was pretty underwhelming this past season. But we know Hook can play really fast, so maybe him and Vivid, just with that absolute pace, with Awakening following up, can just slay out and potentially form some sort of like LAG roster that can maybe make a run at a major. But here on screen is our teams right now, updated as of September 5th, 2024. It is 2:07 p.m. for me right now. So if a tweet comes out right after I make this video, I apologize. But this is what we're looking at. Let me know which rosters you like, which rosters you dislike. Honestly, I feel pretty good about these, other than maybe like Boston and LAG, because those are the 2 last ones, so they're the hardest ones to do. But let me know what you think. What do you think's happening with LA Thieves specifically, since that was the basis that started this whole video? With all that being said, make sure to sub for more CDL content, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.